Welcome to the Tradier Rundown. I'm Jim Uriel. That's Bobby Chino. Bobby, what do you got?
How high can crypto go, Jim? I mean, we're talking right now after that Fed meeting, we're seeing yields come off, which should be good for those sort of high beta risk assets, of which crypto in general is one. So what are your thoughts on it?
So here's what's interesting to me today. And you know that over the last, call it, couple of years, I've flipped pretty hard on crypto. And I am long. I'm long both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And there's a couple different fundamental theses that are pushing me in that direction. The fact that the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock, is increasing its exposure to both Bitcoin through its application for the ETF and now Ethereum. Okay. So, and yes, just this week, Elizabeth Warren started talking about regulating it, whatever. That to me is not that important. And the craziest of the Bitcoin and crypto enthusiasts will say that's fine when governments come out against it. But the fact that it's been on such an impressive run this year, to me, means it's an important asset. You know, Bitcoin is up about 163% on the year. Ethereum's up about 100% on the year. Those are some real numbers, you know, coming off some lows. But I am interested, and the bulk of my thesis is because those big players have been increasing their footprint in it. Now you throw in the fact that you just mentioned that the Fed came out just today and said, yeah, maybe we will be easing in 2024. Boom, Bitcoin up 4%, Ethereum up 4%, which by the way trailed silver, by the way, which I found that interesting. Silver's up more than both Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think it's very interesting. What are your thoughts on it?
It's interesting to me because I called it a high beta asset when we started this conversation. And high beta, for those of you that don't know, means it has an opportunity or the probability that's going to move a lot in price. And it's actually reducing from a perspective of what crypto was. You know, I trade a lot of crude oil and crude oil ETFs and crude oil stocks, crude oil related stocks. And the most volatile thing you used to be able to trade is crude oil. Then it became Bitcoin. The volatility in Bitcoin is actually starting to compress. And that to me means there's more buy and holders. I'm not using HODL. I refuse to use it.
You just did.
No, I did not. I just said I'm not using HODL. I also can't say Worcestershire properly. So from that perspective, when I look at it, I think the volatility is coming off and it's in a bullish mode, a bullish trend. And as they say in the rundown here, about halfway through, the trend is always your friend. So I'm just going to go with it.
So what you mentioned interesting about the volatility, by the way, implied volatility in the options has been about on a 2-year decline according to the Bitball chart, but it's also skewed to the calls, not the puts. And that's just happened over about the last 6 months, that there's a higher skew in the call, meaning that to me, it's actually becoming the risk panic asset that it was supposed to. Does that make sense?
It does. And I want to add into that toward the bottom of the rundown, you're going to see mention of BITO, which is a regulated ETF. You mentioned BlackRock. This ETF tracks Bitcoin futures. So it's slightly different. It's not cash Bitcoin. And then also Riot and Mara, which are cryptocurrency mining companies. Now I'm going to say that we just talked about this on our show, which is the Trader's Edge. It's 3 p.m. Eastern time, live on Wednesdays. We just talked about that particular type of issue with metals, where if you have an opinion on the underlying, you should get as close to involved in the underlying as you can, which means you're going to go more toward BITO or wait for one of the ETFs from BlackRock and others. But Riot and Mara are interesting mining companies because they mine, and as the amount of Bitcoin shrinks to its permanent level where it won't go any higher, I think it's 1 million Bitcoin or so, those cryptocurrency mining companies, every Bitcoin they can mine has more value to it. I will say I like Mara more than I do Riot, but I also like Iris Energy, which is not in the rundown. IREN, full disclosure, I own it, but I also like that one.
Interesting. And I didn't even know there was publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies. I've just been involved in the underlying. So thank you.
Yeah, they're the mining companies. Just like when people like gold, they get into gold miners. I prefer to get into the underlying asset.
Sounds good. Thank you.